Welcome back, everyone. Coach Shawn here. Today I want to talk about something that many alienated parents feel deep in their bones but are often afraid to say out loud, and that is this. If my spouse had treated me with love and respect, my children would likely have treated me with love and respect too. Now, before anyone jumps into the comments, let me be clear. I am not saying adult children don't have free will. I am not saying every alienated child is simply a puppet. And I am certainly not saying one parent is always responsible for alienation. But I do want to talk about something that I believe many alienated parents experience because children absorb far more than we realize. They watch everything. They watch how mom and dad talk about dad. They watch how dad talks about mom. They watch who gets respected. They watch who gets dismissed. They watch who gets protected, and they watch who gets blamed. Many of us enter marriage believing that our spouse would always have our back, that even when we disagree, even if we struggled, we would remain a united front. But what happens when that doesn't happen? What happens when one parent slowly begins withdrawing respect from the other? What happens when contempt enters the relationship? What happens when one parent begins portraying the other as unstable, difficult, irrational, or the problem? Because children notice. And even when nobody says the words directly, children are incredibly perceptive. They learn who has authority, they learn whose opinions matter, they learn whose emotions are important, and they learn whose feelings can safely be ignored. That learning often happens over years and sometimes decades, and by the time alienation appears, many parents are completely blindsided. They're thinking, I loved my children, I provided for my children, I sacrificed for my children. How did we get here? And often what they're missing is that the family system was changing long before the alienation became obvious. The disrespect started somewhere. The dismissiveness started somewhere. The rewriting of history started somewhere, and the children were watching. Now, let me say something important. This does not mean the targeted parent was perfect. I know I wasn't. None of us are. But there is a massive difference between acknowledging someone's imperfections and teaching children to disregard, dismiss, or devalue that parent. Those are not the same thing. A healthy parent says, your mother isn't perfect, but she loves you. Your father made mistakes, but he's still your father. Your mother and I disagree, but she deserves respect. Your father and I had problems with our relationship, but that doesn't include you. That's healthy. But when a child repeatedly sees one parent treated with contempt, something changes. Over time, they begin adopting that framework. They begin viewing that parent through the same lens. And eventually, they may not even realize they're doing it. One of the most painful things alienated parents tell me is this: my child speaks exactly like my ex. Same phrases, same accusations, same complaints, same distorted version of reality. And that is heartbreaking because it feels as though you're no longer talking to your child. You're talking to a reflection of someone else's narrative. Again, that doesn't mean adult children are incapable of independent thought. They absolutely are. Adult children are responsible for their choices. But we also must recognize the enormous influence family systems have had on these children and our relationships with them. The truth is that children absorb parental attitudes. They absorb tone, respect, contempt, emotional alliances. They absorb blame. They absorb affection. They absorb dismissiveness. And perhaps most importantly, they absorb who gets protected and who gets scapegoated. If one parent is consistently positioned as the problem, many children eventually adopt that belief. Not because they're evil, not because they're not intelligent, but because that is the environment in which they were raised. And that brings me to something many alienated parents struggle with: the grief. Because when your children reject you, it is painful. There's no way around it. It feels like they looked at everything you did and decided you weren't enough, just like your spouse. But many times what you're seeing is the result of years of conditioning, influence, narratives, alliances, and family dynamics that were operating long before the cutoff ever happened. That realization doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't fix the relationship, but it can help explain what happened. And for many parents, understanding what happened is an important part of healing, because healing requires us to stop asking only what's wrong with me and start asking what happened inside of this family system. Those are very different questions. Now, I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe children absorb parental attitudes towards other parents? Have you seen your adult child adopt language, beliefs, or behaviors that mirror your former spouse? Please let me know in the comments. And if you're struggling with parental alienation, please know you're not alone. Join us Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for our healing group, where we come together, share our experiences, and support one another through this journey. I offer one-on-one coaching and resources for parents navigating alienation and family estrangement. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.